Three teenagers who were allegedly involved in planning a terrorist attack at a packed Taylor Swift concert are in custody. The superstar's Austrian concerts were suddenly canceled this week as police revealed details of a plot to kill as many people as possible. We've got the latest shocking developments on how the suspects were caught, what authorities say they were planning to do, and more. We're going to break it down right now with counterterrorism specialist and former NYPD detective Tom Smith. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. How scary is this? A terror plot at a Taylor Swift concert. I can't even believe I'm saying this, but now a third person is in custody in Austria, accused of participating in a plan to set off bombs at the singer's concert in Vienna, Austria. 3 sold-out concerts planned for Thursday, Friday, Saturday. They were canceled when police arrested 2 of the suspects, revealed this alleged plot. Concert organizers have said 65,000 people were expected to be inside that stadium at each concert, with another 30,000 people gathering outside. That's reportedly where these suspects plan to strike. Think about that. Now, Barracuda Music, this is the group that organized the concert, announced the cancellation on its Instagram page just 1 day before the first concert. This devastated fans because some were traveling internationally just to see Taylor Swift in the show. But in the post, Barracuda Music said, quote, "Taylor Swift, the Eras Tour Vienna shows canceled due to government officials' confirmation of planned terrorist attack." That post and the official tour website said fans will be refunded in full for their tickets over the next couple of weeks. And in one of the top comments on the Instagram post, it says, quote, "A reminder to everyone, money is replaceable, lives are not." It's very true. Hey, so I want to thank Upside for sponsoring today's Law and Crime YouTube takeover. So Upside is a free app that gets you cash back on daily essentials like gas and groceries. And every time I pump my gas now, I can use Upside. Why not get cash back when you fill up your tank, right? And yes, this is actual, real cash back. It's money that appears in your Upside app that you can transfer straight into your bank account. So once you have the Upside app, you claim an offer for whatever you're buying on Upside. You pay as usual using a debit or credit card. You follow steps on the app. You get paid. You can use Upside at places like Shell, Exxon, Mobil, 7-Eleven, Taco Bell. That's just to name a few, by the way. So to find out how much you could earn, click the link in the description to download Upside or scan the QR code on screen and use our promo code LCTakeover and get an extra 25 cents back on every gallon on your first tank of gas. That's promo code LCTakeover for an extra 25 cents back on your first gallon of gas. But what do we know right now about the terror plot itself and its alleged conspirators? Well, according to Austria's Interior Ministry, foreign intelligence agencies helped uncover the scheme, and sources have told ABC News that a warning did come from the United States. Investigators say the main suspect is a 19-year-old ISIS sympathizer who had been radicalized online. His identity has not been revealed due to Austria's privacy laws. He was arrested Wednesday morning in the town of Turnitz, it's about an hour south of Vienna, and at his home, where he lived with his parents, agents found a stockpile of chemicals, explosives, detonators, machetes, steroids, 21,000 euros in counterfeit cash. The head of Austria's domestic intelligence agency told reporters that the suspect planned to kill himself as well as a large number of people using explosives and knives. He reportedly confessed to everything when he was taken. And we're told the suspect had recently quit his job on July 25th, saying he had basically something big planned. A second 17-year-old suspect was detained as well. Authorities say he worked for a facilities company that would have provided some sort of services at the concert venue. He was actually near the stadium when he was taken into custody, so that's why you might be hearing people say this could have been an inside job. Investigators revealed he had recently broken up with his girlfriend. Many have wondered, did he believe that he wouldn't make it out alive? The 18-year-old and the main 19-year-old suspect both recently pledged allegiance to ISIS. This is according to the Interior Ministry. And now we have learned an Iraqi teen is the third person to be officially arrested, although this third suspect is not currently linked directly to the planned attack, the ministry said, but he was under arrest for the broad scope of the ongoing investigation. The Interior Minister said at an unrelated news conference on Friday that the 18-year-old had been in contact with the main suspect. The 19 and 17-year-old suspects are being held in pretrial detention. Investigators believe also that the teens were acting on their own, that they weren't directed by ISIS to attack the concert. By the way, a 15-year-old was also interrogated but wasn't arrested. And disappointed fans have still gathered in Vienna to sing Taylor Swift songs, trade friendship bracelets, trying to make the best out of what is a very bad and scary situation. Here's something interesting. Taylor Swift's next stop is in London. She's supposed to have 5 performances starting on August 15th. And London Mayor Sadiq Khan said the events would go on as scheduled. He told Sky News on Thursday, quote, "I'm sure Vienna has got its own reasons to cancel the Taylor Swift concerts. We're going to carry on working closely with police and ensuring that the Taylor Swift concerts can take place in London safely." Now, this foiled plot, of course, is a reminder of the tragic loss of life at England's Manchester Arena in 2017 when a suicide bomber killed 22 people at an Ariana Grande concert. Since then, the family of a man who was killed at that concert has been pushing for what they call Martin's Law, which would require special preparations to prevent a terror attack at large events. Draft of the legislation is expected to be considered in the upcoming parliamentary session. I want to bring on right now former NYPD detective, counterterrorism specialist Tom Smith. Tom, thanks so much for coming on. How impressive is it that this plot was foiled?
Oh, it's very impressive and very complex. When you have an international incident that you're investigating, the start off point is very important in how this was gathered and the information gathered with this threat. And then coordinating with different foreign agencies and their security agencies to mount an investigation of this type takes a lot of work and a lot of coordination and trust in each other. We had great relationships with security services over in Europe in thwarting other terrorist attacks. And this is just one example of the great work that's done every day on this level to stop terrorist attacks around the world.
What is that communication process like? Why do I ask that? Oh, I don't know, because we're trying to figure out how a former president was almost assassinated and was there a breakdown in communication there? But that's besides the point. Here's a question. What is the communication between our intelligence services and law enforcement in foreign countries?
Well, it's tight. And the best part, or the most important part, is the sharing of information. Because you have to understand, if the FBI here started the investigation and it's leading to Vienna, Vienna's on the ground there. So they have to be handed all the intel and information that we can provide for them to start that investigation going and hopefully come to the same conclusion they did. But the best part and the biggest part is coordination and information sharing.
Are you surprised people this young, Tom, can plan something like this? I mean, I'm not even going to get into the part yet about where they were apparently radicalized online. We'll save that for a second. But gathering these materials, almost committing a crime, maybe it's not as sophisticated as I'm thinking, but are you surprised they're able to almost do this?
I'm not that surprised because of just the way the internet and computers are set up. You can research anything, you can get any information on anything, even making a bomb, which is scary. But here's the difference. They can plan it. Coordinating it and pulling it off is another subject. Was that going to happen with the inexperience they have in their youth? We don't know. And thankfully, we didn't find out. But planning it, no, I'm not surprised.
Right, because and when you talk about recruitment, you could say to yourself, oh, you know, these young, impressionable young men, but then you think they don't have the skill, the training, the experience as maybe an adult terrorist. So it's definitely something to consider. Talk to me about the venue real quick. In your experience, large-scale venues like this, they feel like prime targets because you have so many people congested together, but what are the vulnerabilities there as well?
Oh, it's incredibly vulnerable because there's only so much you can do with 70,000 people, you know, in one area. They have to park in a certain area. They have to walk into the event. They hopefully are getting some sort of security screening way before in some sort of perimeter that's set up before they get in. Now, all of those, you know, lend a hand with stopping an attack from happening. When you have different levels of security that people need to go through, even to the point of where cars are coming in, that needs to be a checkpoint as well. So the more security you have outside, the more secure inside will be.
Talking about these young men, right? One of the strangest aspects of this story, and I think one of the most frightening aspects, is the potential radicalization online. And it seems to me that the advent of social media has been a part of this. Talk to me about what we're learning about social media, its influence on these young men.
Social media plays a tremendous part of this. Everyone is on social media, and ISIS unfortunately made it an art form to get into social media and to start the recruiting process. And the way they did it is they hit on keywords and what youth and young people were using, just words they were using to describe their own lives, hashtags, all that. I hate America. I hate my parents, depression, all that plays a role into who they go after. And the social media part is one part of it. Once they get their hooks into someone in the social media realm, then possibly the personal meetings happen and the upfront face-to-face meetings happen. And then it goes from there, which is all incredibly dangerous.
Do you know how to source it? For example, you could have, let's say, ISIS who's using social media to put out a lot of messages, but that's not the same thing as directly recruiting men like this to commit a specific crime, right?
Correct. You can, it's all a matter of who they get into. You can have people that'll laugh it off and just blow right past it. And then there's others that are drawn to it and have a different ideology than the person sitting next to them. So it all depends on who they get and their mindset at that point. If they're looking to get into a group like this because of whatever reason, they'll see that right away. They will be drawn to that immediately, and then they will focus on that person.
But do you know where it's coming from? Can it be tracked where these accounts are, who's sourcing that, anything like that?
Yeah, sure, it can be, because the cyber world right now is so intelligent, and the U.S. has a great capability of doing that. And that's what we did years ago, and that's why ISIS disappeared for a while, because we were able to locate their central, communication center and where they were training and all that. And that's why they were wiped off the map for quite some time. But now, like everything else, certain things happen in the world, administrative change, and you have the reoccurrence of this nightmare going on right now.
And it's terrifying to think about that, because you don't know what people are exactly looking at and who's being tracked on there. One of the things that I find so interesting as well, and I don't know how you police it, are what I assume they're called pre-attack indicators. And could it be, like we talked about, somebody who quits their job and says something big is going to happen, somebody breaks up with their girlfriend? But these are kind of innocuous things. They happen in everybody's life every day. How does law enforcement, how do intelligence agencies monitor anything like this? How do they monitor pre-attack indicators that somebody is going to be about to commit a crime like this? It feels almost impossible.
Yeah, it's hard to do when you're thinking of the recipient because of the Constitution. You can't just start watching people because they're having a bad day and they don't like their job, or up on there and monitor their social media accounts. The way it works is you pay more attention to the bad guys and what they're doing. And how do you do that? Sources of information, great intelligence, intelligence gathering. And the cyber world that we're in, like I said, we have a great capability of getting inside the accounts and tracking where they go. Now, once you do that, and if they're keying on people and communications are going back and forth with 1, 2, 10 particular individuals in this country, then they can start being looked at and being the source or target of an investigation.
Speaking of which, how confident are you when they make arrests in these kinds of cases that these individuals will lead to bigger fish, will lead to a network? Because, like I said, they seem to have been influenced by what they were seeing online, but they weren't direct recruits of ISIS. How confident are you? And I'm sure they're going to look at not only their social media accounts, the electronic devices, what they find in their homes, but how much is it going to link to other people, to other networks, maybe see other arrests?
Well, it's great that you got them. Now you have a person in front of you that went through that process. So you can start dissecting what they knew, how they got it, how they got their information, just go, step by step with the people who were just arrested. Now, here's the problem, and you mentioned it before. They have the one individual that they are not particularly linking to this event, but holding him for some other things. That's troubling, because he may not have been involved in this, but what else is that network planning? Or what else is out there that maybe they're not set, to release right now or go after? But I'm sure there's more information regarding these 3 individuals than they're lending to be right now. And that's understandable. You don't want to let the cat out of the bag. But I think there's more to it. There always is. It never stops with one event. It never does. There's always something else. There's always something else being planned, or more people.
Does that concern you in the sense that I mentioned what the London mayor said? They're going to continue these shows. It's a balancing test, right? Because you don't want to let the terrorists win, right? Even if they don't conduct their actual attack, and thank goodness it didn't happen, if it creates the fear that events are stopped, they win in a way. Now, I will tell you, when you think about that and you listen to the idea that these other concerts are going to go forward, what's your take on it? Should we be concerned while this investigation is ongoing?
Yeah, I think it's irresponsible to blanketly say, "Hey, we're fine. Everything's going to be okay." That's irresponsible to say, because you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. You don't know if this individual that you locked up is going to give up the entire network. You have no idea. So to say that, you're kind of giving the bad guys a little heads up, like, "Oh wow, they're going to go through with this. Let's start planning this." That's dangerous. It should be simply said, "Hey, for right now, everything's okay. We don't have any direct threats at this location, but we are going to be mindful with any information coming in," and then go from there.
What's scary to think about is Shiraz Mayer, who's an expert on Islamic extremism with the Department of War Studies at King's College in London, said this to the Associated Press, that attackers, they prioritize casualties and therefore choose soft targets where they know large numbers of people will be congregating. Aside from concerts, what other places are we talking about?
Oh, anything can be considered a soft target. If there's no security around a certain area, it's a soft target. You can go block by block in New York City, for instance, hotels, cafes, street vendors, anything that doesn't have a security, front is a soft target. And you could lose your mind thinking of the number of soft targets that are out there. And that's what they key on, because it's easy. There's not a lot of planning that needs to be involved. You do a couple of surveillances of an area and you're done. And then you can start an attack, which is extremely scary and dangerous to think of.
Tom, what about the parents? When you're dealing with such young people, I always am curious. I asked the same question. I did a whole sidebar on it, excuse me, about whether the Thomas Matthew Crook's parents could be legally responsible for what he allegedly did. But I wonder here, the parents must be interviewed if they are living with their parents. How much in your experience do the parents know about what's going on with their children, particularly if their children are radicalized by terrorists, by extremists?
It's a case-by-case thing. We've had sometimes that parents know or had an idea of certain things, and then there's some that are oblivious to anything their kids are doing. Why? Because it's not a desktop computer they're on. They're on their phone. They could be in their car. They could be in a park. They could be anywhere, not in front of their parents. So for the parents not to know anything that's going on is not that uncommon.
I want to just call out the great work of law enforcement, our intelligence agencies, both here and also abroad, that stopped this attack from happening. I am praying that nothing like this even comes close. And really, Tom, as a former NYPD detective, counterterrorism specialist, it's because of the work that you guys do that keeps us all safe. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And, it's a scary situation, but it could have been a lot worse.
It is, and you got the right people looking into it. They're experts, and they're very driven into nothing like this happening or another 9/11 happening, and they're driven by that, and they're the best around.
Yep. Tom Smith, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jesse.
All right, everybody, that's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar. Thank you so much for joining us, and as always, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Jesse Weber. Speak to you next time.